Welcome to Season 6 of our curling podcast, Two Girls in a Game. Our show has our insights and opinions on our favorite sport with a hint of humor and a little gossip on the side. Curling, we love it all. The game, the players, the drama, and the controversies. So stick with us and you'll hear all about it. This is episode 26, part of the Curling News and Sports Illustrated partnership. Mary.
Lori, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And you?
Yes, I'm doing all right. I got the big jab last week.
I know. I have vaccine envy.
Yes, I got the vaccine. I think I'm a bit of a wimp. I apparently had more side effects than most people seem to have. Yeah, I had a little bit of a rough night. I had it done around noon on a Tuesday. And by Tuesday night when I went to bed, I had quite a bad headache and I had a lot of muscle soreness. And then I woke up with the chills and some nausea. I'm like, what is going on here?
But that's a good sign, right? That it's actually working?
That's what I'm told. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not the first person to have those side effects, but actually I've talked to quite a few people that said they may have had one or two of those side effects, but I got hit pretty good. But that, I guess, that's I took one for the team there and I'm okay with it.
Well, yeah, it's the price you pay, right? To ensure the safety going forward. And do you feel better about things now that you've had the first dose?
I kind of do. At first, it didn't really dawn on me because, of course, we all still have to practice, everything that we've already been practicing. But then I have to sort of say to myself, "Oh, wait a minute, Mary, you're vaccinated. Like you're a slightly step ahead of a lot of people right now."
Yeah, darn right.
Yeah, and our poor province here is really, really in dire straits right now, and I feel sorry for us.
Well, it's not the best news. I was very saddened last week with the new restrictions, and I feel terrible for everybody who works in healthcare. After I got over the inconveniences I had to put it all into perspective and go, okay, but wait a minute, there's a lot worse things happening here than my minor inconveniences. And so anybody who's in the healthcare and people that are essential workers, like my heart is just going out to everybody. And I'm really concerned with where this is going to end.
Even the other provinces, thank God, are offering to help in any way that they can. And it's very scary. I mean, we were afraid enough a year ago, and when we didn't even really know what it's like to live in a pandemic, but we're worse off. We're not better off. We're worse off. So
yeah, and that's truly, truly frightening.
it is. Yeah.
Okay, this is starting on a light and happy note, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
After we recorded last week, the WCF released what happened with those COVID tests, which was unfortunate timing because we had already put the episode out, and they were, in fact, the COVID tests were deemed false positives. So They said they were from contaminated samples, which is very rare.
Yeah, can you imagine? And it happened in the curling bubble.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate, honestly. And everybody that had to work through that, good heavens. So, yeah. I mean, it's great news that the bubble remains intact and, of course, moving forward, because our biggest concern was with the upcoming Women's Worlds, which is also an Olympic qualifier. We just wanted to have that event happen and not be in jeopardy. So I'm sure everybody is super relieved.
Yeah, and that happened right at I believe the slam players were all flying in at that point, and then this whole stuff was going on. So it was a relief, because all I could think of is what happened with the Worlds last year when they all flew in and then were told it's canceled.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. There'll probably be even more precaution in the next couple weeks. I'm not expecting to see too many fist bumps between the teams, and definitely no handshakes.
Well, you know what, though? It turns out they were false positives. So, really, what everybody's doing and has been doing for the last couple of months in that bubble is definitely working.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Good
Yeah.
point. I
Hmm.
half wondered if at the slams they would keep the women's games on one draw and the men's games on the other draw and not intermix.
Hmm.
But they're not doing that. It seems like they're just running it as per normal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just thought it might be one extra layer of protection.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so after 15 months without any slams, here we are again. They've returned to Sportsnet.
Yeah. What did you think?
Well, my
Well.
attention span hasn't been great since they
Mm.
started, and I just couldn't focus on what was going on. I don't know. I think after 4 events in the bubble, and they were pretty high pressure events, and I was very invested in them, I just didn't quite have the bandwidth for the slam in the last week.
Mm-hmm. But you and I, we have talked about this before. Watching uh, the events on TSN, those are events, those are national championships, which you and I agree are just have that extra entertainment value because we feel like there's something more at the end of the rainbow there, the prize, right?
Right.
Whereas we watch the slams and really they're just playing for a paycheck, to win a paycheck and a trophy and whatever. So it means a lot to the players, doesn't mean as much to the spectators, I think.
That's true. I was
Yeah.
wondering if I just had a bit of burnout too.
I don't know. Now the other thing is too, and a lot of even when I'm watching maybe the Scotties or the Briars, sometimes at the beginning or midweek when it's round robin play, I'm not as interested as when it gets down to sudden death. And even when watching these slams, I was a little more interested once they got down to the quarters.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it was the Champions Cup, and it was the first of the 2 slams that were held out in the Calgary bubble, and there was 2 pools of 6, and they played 4 round robin games, but a lot of emphasis was put on the draw to the button shootout score because they were eliminating tied records with the shootout. So it was really important, basically as good as a win.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then because of the COVID scare, everything got pushed by a day. So instead of Championship Sunday, it was Championship Monday. So
Yeah.
kind of circa 1999 all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing that sort of set it apart was the no tick rule. This happened throughout the game. They've done it in the past where I think it was just maybe the last couple ends, but this was the entire game. So if the rock was touching the center line at all and a rock was coming around and ticked it off the center line, it would go back and the throwing rock would be taken off. But I only saw this happen twice the entire week.
Yeah, I think the commentators actually talked about that as well, that they rarely saw that it happened,
Yeah.
which is good. I kind of like the idea of this no tick allowed.
Yeah.
Well, you think back to why did they get rid of letting people peel guards,
Right.
letting leads peel guards, right? The 5 rock rule, whatever, and they keep on having to make this rule, change it because the bottom line is, and Kevin Martin did say this yesterday on air, is it's for the fans, right? That they're playing for, but it's for the fans. This is why this is on television and whatever, right? I mean, the fans don't want to see it. And a tick shot is basically a slow moving peel, right? Like they're doing the same thing. They're just doing it in a different manner. So now it's getting to the point where maybe they're not going to be allowed to do that.
Yeah. And then I noticed it more in the last end because that's when you always saw the tick happening and when they weren't allowed to do it in the last end. But other than that, I never really noticed it up until the last end. And I just think it's so interesting because people clearly can call ice and the thrower doesn't crash the guard. And it reminded me of when Don Kawaja coached us a long time ago, and he used to get really annoyed at our skip if one of us crashed the guard because he said it's better to get by even if you show them half. So it just reminded me of that story.
Oh, that's funny. So true, right?
Well, and especially the way the slam ice is, there's so much late finish. So you can take max ice and not crash the guard.
And I did seem to notice when I was watching yesterday, like every end, there was a ton of rocks in play. And maybe that was a bit to do with that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And the prize money, I don't know if you saw this. So the winner got $25,000. Second place was $17,000. Third and fourth, $12,000. Fifth to sixth place was $9,000. And then per round robin win was $3,000. So that wasn't too shabby.
Well, that's pretty good. 3,000 per win. I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
And I have heard that the teams were helped out a little bit with expenses because the teams had to go, some of them had to go up to a week ahead of time, and they all have to have their own individual room. So I was sort of calculating the expenses per team, thinking, they're crazy. Like, why are they even going?
Right. Like, so they were helped out a bit by the SLAM organization?
Yeah, so I heard they lowered the entry fee a little bit and that they were given some money to help toward hotel and food costs.
Well, that's nice because I was thinking the same thing, like especially, like the teams here from Ontario, that's or east of that, like that's a long way to go to Alberta to fly there, right? And like you say, you got to pay for. You each have to have your own room. I was thinking, my goodness, how are they doing this?
Yeah. And I mean, obviously it's where their sponsorship money really comes in, and there's a lot of visibility through the slams and a lot of TV time for the teams. So they get money from sponsors. So, if they didn't have that, they would, people would not be able to afford to go to these events. They're expensive.
No. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, interesting. There was some lineup changes and some spares this week, which I always find very interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Team Epping because Ryan Fry was not there. He is spending time with his family, and his dad, Barry Fry, is battling stage 4 lung cancer. So I know, it's so sad. So thinking of Ryan and his family. I don't know if you saw the game where they were showing Team Epping and they were all wearing the snake pin on their jackets.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, in honor of Barry Fry. I guess his nickname was the Snake. So thought that was so cool. I really liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they had Colton
Lott. That's right. He was sparing for Ryan. Yeah. And he's just adorable.
Oh, he's adorable. He is. Yeah, he really is.
And then, of course, Team McEwen. Mike McEwen was at home with his wife, Dawn. They welcomed their new baby Avalon. And Reed ended up skipping the team. And they had Tyler Tardy was sparing already because of Mike being away. But then Colin Hodgson, as we said last week, he wasn't able to go. He was having some issues with not wanting to be back in the bubble. So he opted out and they had to play with 3.
Yeah.
Then there was Team Cooey, which they started tinkering with their lineup after the Brier and had John Morris throwing third and in the house. Before he was just in the house throwing second. So now they have changed him to being full on third. What do you think?
So he finally weaseled his way up, did he? I'm kidding. However, like I'm going really from what I was reading online. And that is what some people's attitude is. Well, looks can always be deceiving, right? We look on the outside and we say, okay, well, they bring John on, and John says, oh, I'll play second. I'm okay. And then he's playing second, but then he's also holding the broom, and now he's moved up to third position. We don't know how that decision came to be. He actually, I did see that John put something out there because I think he knew there was a lot of flack, a lot of people talking about this and not agreeing with it. He doesn't even owe anybody an explanation anyway, but I don't know. I think I have a feeling BJ had something to do with that decision. I honestly do. I think he kind of looks at John and what John has done and accomplished and maybe felt it might be better to put John there.
Okay. What did he say with what he put out there?
Well, he basically said that as like any team at this point, we are trying to put together the best team imaginable, especially because they're aiming for the Olympics. And he said it was a team decision. It was discussed among the team, and that the whole team felt that this is the way to maybe better that team, to make it just a little bit stronger moving forward.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they've played in 4 or 5 events since the beginning of the year, because this year's just been not too much happening. So I think they're probably going to look at what happens after these 2 events. And then they also have the other events with the lineup the other way. And I bet after that, they'll have a good idea of which lineup they think is the strongest moving forward to the fall. So this way they can compare the 2 and decide.
I think after that happens, he's probably going to be skipping.
Well, there's only one more spot to go. Or out the door.
If nothing else, Lori, the online chats are entertaining the hell out of me. Right? Because there's so many things going on in this bubble. And all you have to do is if something happens, go on there and you will see opinions galore.
Okay, but one of the funniest hot mic moments came when Team Jacobs was playing Team Cooey in the semifinal, and BJ makes this amazing run back double, and Brad Jacobs says, he's a pretty good player. Why isn't he playing third anymore?
Now, I didn't see that, but I heard a lot about it. Did he say that to those guys and they all cracked up?
He said it to Cooey, and the best part of the whole thing was Cooey's reaction, which was 0. That made it even funnier. He didn't react. Literally nothing.
Now that doesn't surprise me.
Oh my goodness. Well, it'll be interesting to see. So they did make the semifinals, but again, just a little bit short. They still haven't had a title, and I know that's what this team is vying for. So we'll see what happens this week.
Right. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, we were talking earlier about Sportsnet and TSN and comparing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe let's delve into that a little more. My thought is, hey, a change is as good as a rest.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I would agree. Yeah. Again, lots of chat online about them, about Sportsnet versus TSN.
Yes, I noticed that.
Oh my goodness. It's crazy. One thing that they chatted about a lot on this, and you and I have talked about this on the podcast, is do you like the around the rings?
Right.
Yeah, I think online, I would say it was 50-50. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it.
Well, it's funny because normally I don't love it, and I like to get settled in to watch a game. But as I said earlier, my attention span, not really where it normally is watching curling. So I was okay with kind of getting glimpses in to all the different games. But normally I'm much more invested, and I really like to hunker down and watch a game. This time, it was good. I didn't mind it at all.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying it's good for people with no attention span.
Correct.
Yeah. If I had to pick, I would say no. I prefer to watch end from lead to skip because I really enjoy to try to figure out the strategy along with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about the different crews, the different commentators between Sportsnet and TSN. And I think everybody has their own style and their own merit. So I think it's interesting. I do think Sportsnet just has a slightly more casual approach to commentating a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A little more conversational.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good change.
So the other thing I noticed between Sportsnet and TSN is that there's no fans in the stands.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
What a pile of work to take all those fans down only to have to put them up again for the Women's Worlds.
Right. Well, I think we know why. Those fans paid money to have their picture in the stands, and that money went towards Curling Canada, did it not?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So Curling Canada said, we're taking our fans. You're not getting them.
And then, of course, obviously, it's 8 ends versus the 10 ends. And then the other thing is the ice conditions typically with slams have the bigger curl. And I heard from the Hack podcast, there was an interview with Pierre Charette. He described the curl as parabolic. So the majority of the finish is at the end, whereas with Curling Canada events and World Curling Federation events, the curl is more gradual.
Really?
So I learned something new.
That's a thing?
That's what he said. Yep.
Okay, but is it not the same ice makers that have been there? Ice Tech, sorry. They've been in the bubble. So the guys that were doing the Curling Canada ice were also doing the slam ice, correct?
Well, the head ice maker for the slam is Mark Shurik. So that's different from Greg Iwaska.
Okay. So So Mark is in the bubble then.
Yes, yeah.
They brought him in. Okay.
What do I have about the commentators? Well, Mike Harris is so funny. He was chatting about how tight his suit felt after the time off with the pandemic, and I thought that was so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing he said was that they were fighting over laundry because he's been there for so long in the bubble, and that he had to buy more undies. And then he says, oversharing by Mike Harris.
Right. Yeah. I think 42 pairs of underwear. That's a lot of undies.
My God, it made me laugh so hard. Yeah. And then Joan, I was so interested to hear her saying because of the pandemic and that all the commentating is freelance work, and with no slams to do the freelance work, she went back to teaching.
I know. I heard that too. And I actually wrote that down. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know who the heck would want to be a teacher right now during a pandemic, but God bless her.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that you should have a backup plan always. So good lesson there, Joan.
Yeah, good for Joan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then there's Kevin with his terrific and his fantastic, his buttonhole and his relaxing deuce talk.
Yeah, we noticed Kevin as soon as Kevin started commentating. I think I actually noticed about the buttonhole.
You did.
He does use that word quite a bit, and it bothers me to this day.
Every time he says it, I just crack up.
I know. And he has no idea, I guess. And then, yeah, you're right. He said, well, we like to call that a relaxing deuce. Well,
oh, my God.
You and I both texted each other. Like, we're so sick. We're so much alike now. It's not even.
I know. It's like our phones went off at the exact time. The exact same time. Relaxing deuce. And then Rob Faulds, he does the stalking of the players' social media accounts, and it kind of makes me feel better about myself.
Because that's what you like to do.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my God. And then the last thing that I really noticed the difference between the events was that the social media engagement has been down a lot, but I honestly think it's just because people are experiencing a lot of burnout. Because remember, the phones were blowing up after the Scotties, the Briar. The social media engagement was out of control. And the past week, I've just found it kind of quiet.
Yeah, that's true. It's a nice little break.
So, Mary, there was so many great teams at the Slam, but there was some hits and there was some misses in the first Slam event at the Bubble. Do you have any big surprises?
Yeah, I think there's a few surprises. Probably one of the biggest one is Hasselborg. I don't think she won a game, did she?
She went 0-4.
0-4. That is absolutely shocking.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. I think Jones didn't make the playoffs. That's, I'm not going to say shocking, but maybe a little bit of a surprise. One thing that really surprised me, but it was a pleasant surprise, was Tracy Fleury and her record, because she herself hasn't played all year.
I was so impressed with Tracy Fleury to come to the Bubble after all the things that have been going on in her personal life. She hasn't played a competitive game with her team in a year, hasn't seen them in a year. And she shows up, and they did so well making it to the semifinal. I mean, applause.
Yeah, really, really remarkable, honestly.
Yeah, it really just shows like what a stellar player she is, because that is unnerving to not have played a super competitive game in a year and just go, I'm going to go to an event that has all the best teams in the world and no problem, I can do it.
Yeah. I think, also that team right now, a big advantage that they have is having Chelsea Carey on the bench.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Chelsea's so knowledgeable. I just wonder if she has a future in coaching.
Well, I'll tell you, when I they were calling timeouts and she was coming down, I was a little disappointed she didn't take the mask off.
Oh my God, you read my mind.
Right? I wanted to hear what she had to say, because she is, and even I think Mike mentioned that she is an excellent strategist, and you and I have talked about that before. So I think that is a huge advantage that they have with her coming down to give them advice.
Yeah, I totally agree. There was, on the men's side, a bit of a surprise with Peter de Cruz, who won a bronze medal at the Men's World Championship last week, and they went 0-4.
They went 0-4, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, we've talked about this a million times. One week you're great, the next week you stink, right?
Well, it just shows like this type of field, anything can happen. And
yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can play the entire event over and over and get a different result. And basically that's what's going to happen this coming week.
Yeah. See, so we'll keep an eye on that. That will be very interesting to see. But actually, I think Kevin Martin actually talked about that on the broadcast too. He said next week you'll see some of the same do well, and then you'll see some that didn't do well do better.
Yeah. I think I'm more interested in the results coming up more so than this event that just happened.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the results. Obviously, there was some tiebreakers on both sides, and on the men's side, Dunstone was eliminated on draw to the button, and Brad Jacobs defeated Yannick Schwaller to go on to the playoffs. And on the women's side, it was Fujisawa. She defeated Muirhead. Now, interesting, Muirhead started out 2-0 and then lost her next 3 games. So she'll be disappointed about that. And then Kovaleva defeated Minji Kim. Then We won't get into too much about the quarters, but Homan defeated Fujisawa, Daranzoni defeated Kovaliva, and then Team Kui defeated Jacobs, and Mowat defeated world champion Nicholas Adine. Ended up stealing the 7th and the 8th end. Mm-hmm. That's where the whole no tick thing, you could see it coming into play.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So then in the semifinals, we had Team Gushu versus Team Mowat and Team Kui versus Team Botcher on the men's side.
Mm-hmm. Did you see, just a little side note, it was the 8th end, I guess. No, 7th, right? I think it was the 7th end with Kui and Botcher. When Botcher had that shot for 4, it was a hack waiter. Mm-hmm. John Morris took his microphone off before Botcher even went to the other end to throw.
Yep.
He's like, well, this is over. He takes it off, packs it away. I thought that was really funny, especially if Botcher had not made the shot.
So funny when, Daryl, who's been on the podcast, we were texting about that exact same thing that happened in the Briar, and it was Team Grattan. It was James Grattan. He did the exact same thing. He took everything off, put his mic aside, and the guy missed. And Daryl said, oh yeah, that's the play. That's what you do. It's like a superstition thing. So right. I think John Morris was hoping it would work for them.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't. But I thought it was quite funny.
Oh, so funny.
I almost see it as he's kind of being a little poor sport. Like, okay, well, I'm just taking this off and leaving now. This reminds me of don't you remember the good old days when Johnny Moe was a real badass out there? Like when he ripped his shirt off. Do you remember that?
Yes, and I was thinking, does anybody have video of that? Anybody?
I know someone has to have that. The best. It was
at the Olympic trials. It was when John Morris was playing Russ Howard, and Russ Howard took 4 in the last end to win the game, and John Morris went full Hulk, and he pulled the shirt off.
Yep.
It was something to behold.
It was. Now, what I was trying to think. I guess he was just pulling the shirt off. Like he grabbed it from the middle and was ripping it, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
Rip it. Yeah. But then there was also the moment, and I don't remember what event it was in, where he cracked the broom over his knee. Right.
Yeah, that was at the Briar in Hamilton.
Oh, you got a good memory.
And I think it was the old wood shaft broom, and he didn't get it on the first one, so he had to redo it. So that was amazing as well.
I want that on video too. Like that is gold.
Yeah.
Really. Good stuff, right?
Yes. And then on the ladies' side, we had Team Fleury. They lost to Team Taranzoni. And then Team Anderson, finally, she didn't quite make a third championship, but she lost in the semis to Rachel Homan.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. It's better to take a loss in a slam. Right. You don't want to go into those world championships like on the highest of high. You gotta still like be hungry.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing was seeing Team Mowat with that amazing shot to beat Brad Gushu on Last Rock. That was something else.
Oh, it's a good shot.
Oh my gosh. And I never thought it was going to stop, and it just did in time to score the 2.
Yeah.
And when you see everybody's just head down and they're just sweeping, and then they both look to see if they've got it far enough.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it was so good. Well, let's talk a little bit about the finals.
Sure.
You want to start with our 60-second recaps?
Yeah, so we're back to doing that, Laura?
I know, it's been so long.
Yeah, I'm rusty.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit this in 60 seconds, and I'm a little rusty, but I will give it my best shot.
Okay, hang on. I got to get the clock going here.
Okay. Botcher versus Mowat. Botcher looking to avenge his quarterfinal loss at the Worlds. He covers the pin for last rock advantage, and even Kevin Martin is now saying very good after his son Carrick made a nice freeze. That'll play is a favorite expression of Botcher's when they miss a shot. Botcher takes 2 in the first, Carrick with some serious buzzing, and Mowat has a draw for 1 against 3. Wonder if the teams will adopt the extra rotate that Team Mowat is doing. Brendan donning some nice teal socks. Mowat makes a nice run back stick, and Botcher has to draw for 1. It's 3-1. The crowd's starting to gather in the stands. Mowat makes a backline tap for 2, tied 3-3 after 4. Starting to feel a little sleepy here. Barrier weight is called. Botcher is late on a draw to the 8-foot against 3. It's a steal at 2. Mowat with a great double. Botcher has to blank in the 6th. Not much goes on in the 7th and 8th, and Team Botcher is in trouble. Team Mowat runs them out of rocks to win their second Grand Slam title, and the crowd goes wild.
That's pretty good, Laura. 108.
Well, let's hear how your 60-second recap goes.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
First end, rough start for Team Holman. Joanne misses her hit and takes her own out. Sarah misses both of her shots. Emma misses both of her shots. But rock star Rachel comes to the rescue with a beauty hit and roll. 1-0 Holman. Second end, Joan talks about Joanne moving to lead. Kevin states team would be just as strong if she stayed playing second. And I thought, side note, Sylvana is cute as a button, but at the same time, she would scare the shit out of me if I had to play against her. Pets has open hit and stick for 1 and makes it score 1-1. Holman hammer in the third. Third end, Rachel sitting 2. Alina makes sneaky hit and roll. Behind cover, forces Rachel into a freeze, which she makes perfectly. Another side note, Savannah's hair gets crazier as the game goes on. Rachel has open draw for 2 and makes it score 3-1 Holman. Fourth, Kevin asks Joan if sweeping power is the reason for lineup change on Holman team, and I'm wondering, is Lisa watching this broadcast? Pets is in a lot of trouble and makes a beauty angle run back to open up the 4-foot and allows her to draw for 1, score 3-2 Holman after 4. Fourth end break, they show Rachel's mom, who, by the way, I don't recall ever seeing on TV prior to this event because I think that her husband always got the limelight and stole the show. Fifth end, Pets makes a key freeze to prevent Holman from big score. Rachel draws for 1, score 4-2 Holman. Sixth end, run back Rachel forces Elena to draw for a point. Score 4-3 Holman. Seventh end, Holman sitting 1 but has to draw a button for second point. Comes up light. Score of 5-3 coming home. Eighth end, my PVR stopped recording and I missed the ending, so had to check Twitter for results. Holman is the winner.
Amazing. And I also forgot to hit my clock. So
good.
I'm gonna guess you were over.
I'm pretty sure. My practice round was a minute and 40 seconds. So yeah, that's a bit over.
Oh my goodness, but it was so good.
Well, I didn't really want to purge too much, so.
Yeah. No, I liked it. It just brought the whole game back to my mind. So this is good. Now I'm ready to talk about these games.
Well, listen, is it just my imagination, or have I never seen Rachel's mother on television until now?
It was not your imagination. I have not as well.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
She had to have been to all those events.
Well, I'm sure she was to some of them, but I have never, ever seen her.
Yeah, like they've never maybe focused in and said who she was, because, like I say, her dad, Rachel's dad, was always stealing the show, right? He was doing a little dance, a nervous dance back there or whatever.
Yeah, he was very animated on the camera.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway.
So let's talk briefly about the Botcher Mowat game. And the only thing I would say was I thought Team Botcher came out so strong in that final, but then Mowat's team just got stronger as the game went on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's funny because they just played each other twice at the World Championships. So this was kind of a rubber match because they split the games at the Worlds.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a long-time rivalry between these two skips.
Yeah, they're both really quite young teams and just kind of getting into the groove now, making a name for themselves. So you're right. There's going to be a long rivalry for
Yeah.
sure.
And guess
Yeah,
who they were playing today?
each other.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, really, eh?
That's when you go, oh man.
I know. Yeah. Huh.
And then the ladies' side,
Mm.
yeah, that was an interesting game to see, and you're right about Sylvana's hair. It gets wilder as the game goes.
It does. It's so funny.
It is
right?
funny. Love it.
No. Yeah. And my comment about I think she's cute as a button, but she would scare the shit out of me. Like she's got this very stern look about her, right? But
Yeah.
I'm sure she's an absolute sweetheart. I don't know, but she looks very so she'd probably scare me a lot. But at the same time, I'm sure she's very nice.
Yeah, well, it was a remarkable finish for Team Homan, and we're going to get into that a little more later. But you did comment in your 60-second recap about what Kevin Martin said when he was comparing the physiques of Lisa Wiggle and Sarah Wilkes, and I went, "Ugh!" And I seriously looked online to see if there was any backlash to what he said.
So, do you recall exactly what he said?
He was just asking Joan if she thought that that was part of the reason that the switch was made, because of the different physiques of the two players.
Right.
And sweeping, I guess, power.
Well, I don't think there's much of a difference in the physique of those two players. They're both very tall girls.
They're both
right?
tall. They're both athletic. I thought Joan handled... I thought it was a little awkward, and I thought Joan handled it quite well.
I was just thinking, oh, okay, Joan, how are you gonna handle this one? And she did it very well. I guess he was noticing the front end of the Homan team, the strength in their sweeping. I think he believes it's now improved a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I always feel bad though for the person that's kind of, I don't know, like everybody, things move forward, right?
Well,
and don't you find that all of a sudden, like the talk about Lisa is now gone. It's over, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel bad, like she's forgotten. You know what I mean?
For sure. And when they're showing all the past championships that the team won, Team Homan, I mean, Lisa's in every single one of them. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's tough. But I think it's a human nature thing. People always want to know why. Why? Why did that happen? Why?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you noticed?
Wait, what? I have one, and I know you noticed it because we talked briefly about it on text, and that was a new commercial. Oh. That was the Tommy John underwear commercial.
Oh, I noticed that.
But Mary, it was only on once that I saw.
Well, it was on a couple of times. So this is actually called hammock pouch underwear. Hammock. Get it?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, we complain a lot about commercials being very repetitious. Why wasn't this one so repetitious?
That was what I was wondering. Here's finally a commercial that I can be down with. I can watch this one multiple times. It was so good. The man was very nice to look at. I'm not sure about the two balls sitting in the underwear. The two white balls I thought was a little weird. But generally, I enjoyed the commercial. But honestly, to my dismay, I only saw it once.
Yeah, you're right. I saw it 2, maybe 3 times. But yeah, a little shocking. But yeah, the guy in that commercial was some good looking, right?
Yep, he was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, has Eve Muirhead always worn glasses on the ice?
No.
This is new, right?
I think so.
I was wondering. I don't recall her wearing glasses out there before, but I thought it was interesting because with the pandemic and the masks, most people are trying to get away from wearing glasses and using contacts. And yeah, she was wearing them out there. So,
well, I know I've seen her on Zoom interviews or Skype or whatever, maybe back at her hotel room. She wears her glasses a lot, I think. But you're right. I don't think she normally ever played them on the ice. But I think with this pandemic, people just don't care anymore.
Well, and then there was Brad Thiessen. He did this, he does his backward sweep.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed he has now elevated it into a backward sweep with a plank. And I'm like, I think he's pissed that people have stolen his move.
Mm-hmm.
So he's added a little something at the end.
No, he stole my move.
Yeah, but I like the move.
Yeah, but it's like another comedian stealing my material.
He doesn't even do it exactly the same. He uses a pinch at the end instead of the swirl.
Oh, yeah. The pinch. I've done the pinch. That's not new. Besides which, I don't know how you could trust any of his moves now. His whole repertoire could be lifted.
Now, what do you mean he does a plank?
It looks like it was like a full-on plank. He had his legs splayed. His broom was down. I swear to God, he's added something to the backward sweep because everybody's stolen it.
Well, it's quite a signature move on his part, but you have to expect that people are going to start copying if it's effective.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. But I don't know if anybody can pull it off like he can.
No. Let's get into some headline news. One of the biggest stories this week, of course, was Rachel Homan, after throwing rocks in the pre-event practice, feeling good enough to put herself back into the lineup after giving birth 3 weeks ago. And my question is, Mary, is she Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. All the world is waiting for you.
Well, she's pretty darn close. I mean, it's not just the fact that she came back 3 weeks later. It's also the fact that she curled in something of this level 8 months pregnant. It is certainly not something you see from too many people, too many athletes, too many curlers. But I guess she's Superwoman.
Well, and I just want to say that I think all women are super. I really do. And especially moms, new moms, any mom, cat and dog moms, single moms, step moms, foster moms, special needs moms, sick kids moms, career moms, stay-at-home moms, athlete moms. All moms are amazing and should be celebrated and marveled at. But this was very extraordinary, and I think everybody can agree on that. Mm-hmm. Rachel, in her own words, said her experience with her pregnancy and delivery went really well, and you can't compare. And she just felt really fortunate to be able to recover so quickly and get back out there on the ice. Because it really was remarkable. And then to go and win the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was saying to you not long ago about before I had kids, like I always used to think it, like to see people with their babies, say at the grocery store or at the mall, they always seem to make it look so easy. Mm-hmm. The baby's in the carriage, the baby's sleeping, and then I had a baby. And I'm like, this isn't easy at all.
Right.
But I to this day, I still see people like seeing Rachel's mom with the baby. Every time they showed them in the stands, it was like holding a little doll. There was no commotion, no fussiness, nothing. It looks so easy, and yet it is not.
Right. So we're going to talk about why you and I aren't Rachel Homan.
Okay, shall I start?
Sure.
Okay, and I'm going to start easy, but then, I'm going to get better and better as I go here.
Okay.
I could never be Rachel because after I gave birth, I had to have a catheter put in for a week because my bladder wouldn't work.
Oh my God.
Your
I didn't
turn.
know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, 2 words, pregnancy brain. It's a thing and it doesn't go away ever.
I had a dose of postpartum baby blues where I wanted to rip off anybody's head who came anywhere near me.
Oh my God. I couldn't pump out even an ounce of milk. So basically, I was a human pacifier and a feed bag.
Every time I heard anybody's baby cry, I started lactating.
Little extra pebble on the ice.